So yeah, now we're gonna get a chance to honor somebody for extraordinary support of our military. So I'm thrilled about that.
Yeah, anytime you get a chance to thank those that support our military, it doesn't matter what branch of the armed forces anybody has been involved with. We simply say thank you for your service. Thanks for being there. Thanks for keeping us all out of harm's way every single day. And a lot of times, I think in this world today, we sometimes forget that. I was post-Vietnam War, and I remember some of my, people I knew that went, you went to Vietnam, you had people running off to Canada, try to avoid the draft. It was a different world. But I hope
So
people
yeah, there was a
realize
lull
today.
there in sort of our patriotism, our support, or
Yeah.
our appreciation. I think the Iraq and Afghanistan wars changed that.
Turned that
They
around.
turned
I
that
totally
around.
agree.
It gave a chance for us to sort of pay homage and respect for the people who served in Vietnam. My dad, who did
Right.
3+ tours.
Right.
And
There
et cetera.
you go.
That was, I guess, a silver lining out of that. And I have something to say that I want to say to the folks that served in Afghanistan.
Oh, please.
Okay. The way we withdrew from Afghanistan was clearly not good, and I won't beat that to death, which I've been known to do. But okay.
Okay.
That said, but there's been a response from a lot of Afghan veterans feeling like that their time there was wasted. That everything they did, the sacrifice they made, their friends, the people they lost, that sacrifice was for naught. That it was there was no value in that, and that is emphatically not true. Because for 20 years, because of their service and sacrifice, that region experienced a level of freedom that it had not in centuries.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd been forever.
Forever,
really.
right.
Yeah.
So women and minorities experienced a level of freedom and tolerance that they had not, enjoyed a better life. Terrorism was not exported from that region for 20 years. And we were able to project power to the Iranians and to the Russians and others, et cetera, from the bases, those 3 air bases that we had there. So I don't want any veteran who served in either the Afghan or in particular the Afghan war to not feel like that their service meant something, and that the people that they lost that were nearest and dearest to them, that sacrifice was in vain. It was for naught.
Yep.
They made a huge difference,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that can never be thought of. And people in that region who aren't the totalitarian types, the ones that those citizens value that. And so I just want to know from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank every Afghan veteran, et cetera, for their service and what they did for the entire world.
Yep, for sure. No question about it. And I think a lot of people would feel much the same way. I think everybody was just really surprised, disappointed, just a little embarrassed by how that all happened. So it is unfortunate. But
Well, so their sacrifice
learn from it and
meant
move
something.
forward.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So we want to support and showcase those who serve, and that's really what the America's Future Series 5-Star Award is all about. It's given for extraordinary support of our military and their families. And in a large part, that's not just philanthropy. In a large part, that has to do with hiring practices. The single most important, thing we can do for a veteran when they come back from service is give them another mission. They're mission driven. They want to belong to something. We've heard people talk about that yesterday. Major General spoke about Crozier, et cetera, about that, give someone who belongs. So Amazon Web Services, and its various businesses, Blue Origin, companies like that make a very concerted effort to focus on veteran hiring and development, and it's selfish. They're wise enough to understand that it benefits them. They don't see themselves as doing a veteran a favor. They think it's smart business, and it's one of the reasons they're thriving. If you look at companies that succeed and that have a culture of can do, get it done, show up on time, stay to the end, mission focus, team over self,
do it the way you should do it.
they have some veterans working for them. Funny that, right?
Yeah.
So I like to say, if you don't like your culture, hire a Marine. It'll all work out.
It'll change real fast.
It'll
Absolutely.
yeah,
it sure will.
So anyway, that's what the America's Future Series 5-Star Award is about, and we're honored to have Ken Peterman joining us here. We're going to be he's going to help us present this. I want to bring Ken on, and he'll probably echo maybe someone with the same say it more eloquently than I
what
would.
You just shared, right?
Because he is more eloquent than I am. Hello, Ken. How are you, sir?
I am fine. Thank you, David. Good to see you. Scott?
Good to have you back.
Great to have you here.
So that's what we're here for, and I thought you might want to share a couple thoughts about this 5-Star Award and recognizing Mr. Bezos and the team at Amazon.
Yeah, I'm really glad to do that. One of the great privileges of being a platinum sponsor of this event is to be a participant in this 5-Star Award and discuss a little bit about our young men and women, our veterans. And David, when I think of our veterans, I think it's important to also think of their spouses. When some of us choose to go through this life with a partner, and when one of those partners chooses to serve, chooses to, as my good friend General Bruce Crawford said one time, adorn themselves in the cloth of this nation and serve. Okay, their spouse is serving along with them; they're sacrificing along with them. So the first point I'd like to make is just I think it's a team game in that regard, and we have to think about it that way. The second thing is just a couple of statistics about what a significant resource this is in our country. I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics last year in 2021, 18.5 million men and women are veterans in this nation. About 7% of our population that's above the age of 18 are veterans, and 1 in 10 are women. Importantly, about 200,000 service members transition from military service to civilian life each year, and that's according to the DoD. So the one thing, I think the second point I'd like to make is that this is a significant resource for us. Now, the last point I'll make is that I've been in this aerospace and defense market sector for 40 years. And I am honored to have worked alongside, partnered with, and employed veterans throughout my career. I have been fortunate enough to lead some of the fastest growing defense businesses, organically growing defense business in this country. Sometimes for 5 or 6 consecutive years, we were the fastest growing. And I'll tell you that we did that in large part because of our the veterans in our workforce. In some positions, we had $1 billion business, and I'll tell you, more than 50% of our employees were veterans. And the reason that that's so important now more than ever is because, in the first 20 years of my career, DoD was inventing technology that didn't exist, inventing capabilities that didn't exist, mobile networking, satellite communications, cybersecurity. These things were born in the defense sector, and they were born in an acquisition process predicated on invention. And it took years. It took years to validate a requirement, years to budget the money, years to develop the request for proposals, and then years to execute the contract, because invention was hard. But the second 20 years of my career, these technologies that I've spent my career in transitioned to the private sector. Leadership transitioned to the private sector. So now these technologies are accelerating rapidly, and the trajectories are so steep and so rapid that frankly, veterans become really important, because if you're going to put technology to work for our warfighters, you have to know the problem to be solved. You have to know what it feels like to be in a foxhole, or to fly a helicopter, or to execute a mission, and those kinds of things. And so our veterans help us define the problem to be solved. They help us create technology-enabled capabilities that bring warfighter value, that increase warfighter safety, increase warfighter mission effectiveness. Because I think the second 20 years of my career, the reason we were the fastest growing in so many cases is because we behaved entrepreneurially. We did not, we put technology to work quickly for that warfighter, because frankly, the acquisition process was too long. They would end up buying a 2G capability in a 5G world. So what we were able to do was put technology to work in a matter of months and solve a problem or create a capability that warfighters could use immediately. You were exactly right a few minutes ago when you talked about how Amazon is selfish in the reason they hire veterans. Yes, because it benefits the company, and it's extraordinarily rewarding if you're passionate about our warfighters and our veterans the way I personally am. It's extremely rewarding to put technology to work in a way that saves a life, that helps a young man or woman come home to their mama at the end of the mission, and get that hug, and maybe avoid the loss of a life or a loss of a limb because of technology-enabled capabilities. That's been my passion for 40 years, and veterans have played a huge role in that. At Comtech, we are a team of veterans, former warfighters, creative thinkers. We focus on the warfighter's mission, apply our technology innovation to empower the warfighter in new and different ways, in ways that sometimes as customers didn't dream was possible. It's an exciting time. Veterans play a huge role.
Thank you for those comments and those insights. Well put.
Well put.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so with that, on your behalf, as our patron sponsor, we're going to announce that Jeff Bezos and Amazon, he wanted it to be about Amazon. Amazon is the 2022 recipient of the America's Future Series 5-Star Award, and it's for extraordinary support of our military and their families. And so we've got Jeff joining us here for a few comments.
General Petraeus, General Alexander, thank you. I am honored to receive the 5-Star Award, and I do so as part of a tradition the military knows well, as part of a team, both at Amazon and also Blue Origin. I have long held the belief that corporate America has a responsibility to support our women and men in uniform. Every day, our military steps up for us. They do so selflessly, and it is the noblest of callings. So what can we do to step up for them? The answer to that question is simple. Think of them as leaders. Understand them as leaders. Leaders who can invent, think big, leaders who have a bias for action, and leaders who have incredibly high standards, and leaders who will deliver. These principles look very familiar to the men and women who serve our country in the armed forces and are looking for a new calling. And the same can be said for their spouses. So in 2016, Amazon made a commitment to hire 25,000 veterans and spouses over 5 years and to train 10,000 more in cloud computing technology. 5 years later, we had far surpassed our goal and hired 112,000. And we did not just dump them in the deep end. We set up programs and peer groups to help bring them successfully into the private sector. The initiative was so successful that we made a new commitment to hire another 100,000 in the next 3 years. And I am happy to say we're on track to meeting that goal too. At Blue Origin, the mission is bold and Blue leaders are mission driven. The military veterans at Blue Origin share their passion for this mission every day and are grounded in the leadership principles of ownership, humility, and technical ambition. Blue Origin is dedicated to being a preferred employer of the military community, and we recently formed a new partnership with the DoD's Skill Bridge program to help military members transition to civilian jobs and recruit candidates. As of 2022, more than 10% of the Blue Origin team is former or current military. With our new recruiting partnerships and support from the Blue Origin Veteran Resource Group, we're going to bring even more members of the military to Team Blue. And through it all, at both Amazon and Blue Origin, we learned a few things. We learned firsthand that veterans flourish in the private sector, that military service, including as a spouse, is a significant life experience that fosters resilience, teamwork, collaboration, and integrity. Learned that our veterans and their spouses are well suited to lead people in our fast-paced work environments, and that their values align with ours. I want to close by saying something I've said before, but that bears repeating. Hiring our veterans is right for the country, it's right for Amazon and Blue Origin, and it's the right thing for businesses across the country. We accept this honor with humility, knowing there is always more we can do. So thank you so much for this honor. But most of all, thank you for your service.
And most of all, certainly thank you to Jeff Bezos. He is the recipient of our America's Future Series 5-Star Award. Ken, I'm just kind of curious before we move on, what did you think of his comments? What do you have to say in response to what he just shared with all of us?
Oh, Jeff's comments are right on. I mean, you'll notice that he spoke about the spouse aspect of it. I think that's really important. Thank them for their service. They do bring in enormous insight, enormous leadership. If you want to build a strong culture as an organization, David said earlier, if you want to check your culture as a company, hire a Marine. Yeah. I'll tell you, you put veterans in your workforce, they get it done. Okay, they're mission focused, they get it done. Jeff's right on.
Well put. Well put. I totally agree, too. I thought he was great.
Well, one last thing, because I've done a lot of military transition work with a lot of commercial companies.
Right.
Large hiring fairs and all that. I want the commercial world to understand that this idea that the military mind is very linear and you need to tell a veteran how to get something done is completely wrong. All you have to tell a veteran to do is what good looks like. Give them a goal and give them the resources. They will figure it out.
They'll get it done.
Okay. So no one ever told a sergeant, hey, here's how you take that hill. Go up here, go there. No. So take that hill. Here are your men. Here's what you've got, whatever. And they get it done. And so if you want that in your organization, hire a veteran.
Yeah, it's done.
So I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, let me augment that, David, is veterans know how to collaborate. You think of a team of 10 or 12 warriors, soldiers, okay, that are collaborating together to accomplish a goal. And I'll tell you, when the stakes are high and the lives are on the line, every voice counts. Diversity of thought matters, and those kinds of things. They know how to put that to work to get the best outcome possible when the stakes are the highest. It's an enormously valuable asset when you're trying to run a business in an environment where technology is dynamic, the customer experience is dynamic, the competitive landscape and the threat vectors are dynamic. In that kind of a complex environment with enormous ambiguity, the voice of the veteran is critical.
Well said. Couldn't say it better.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Well put, Ken. Well put.